The Boeing 737 MAX was an aircraft which was supposed to have a reputation of being the best and the latest addition to a successful family of aircraft that has spanned decades. Unfortunately, as we have seen in the last 6 years, this has exposed more about what is the current position at Boeing. To establish this, we need to dive into the history of this crisis and what this will mean for the Boeing of the future. Welcome to the first edition of the AvSource Doc. Faced with fierce competition from Airbus, Boeing's board of directors approved the launch of a re-engined 737, with the firm configuration of the 737 MAX being approved in that time. By January 2016, the MAX 8 had completed its first flight, and by May 2017, the aircraft entered commercial service with launch customer Malindo Air. When the aircraft launched, Boeing promised it would be a strong competitor to Airbus's A320neo, and that it would provide lower per seat costs and an extended range that will open up new destinations. By 2018, the MAX 9 entered into commercial service, competing with the Airbus A321neo. By this point, Boeing had reported more than 4,300 orders from 93 customers worldwide, and the MAX program became the fastest selling model in the history of Boeing, offering a strong outlook for what the future of Boeing would look like financially. These two aircraft programs are important for what we will discuss over the course of this documentary. All looked to be going well at Boeing in the first year or two following the commercial launch of the 737 MAX program, before the catalyst for it all going wrong started up, and that was the crashes of the two 737 MAX aircraft. The first crash happened on October 29, 2018, involving Lion Air flight JT610, which was operating a flight between Jakarta and Pangkal Pinang. 13 minutes after takeoff, the aircraft entered a dive and crashed in the Java Sea off the north coast of Karawang Regency in Indonesia. The subsequent investigation from this crash highlighted that a new software function in the flight control system, known as the Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, or MCAS for short, caused the aircraft to force a situation where the aircraft pitched nose down. This marked the first major accident and hull loss of a 737 MAX, and was the deadliest accident involving the Boeing 737 family. The final report by the National Transportation Safety Committee of Indonesia criticised Boeing's design and the certification process taken out by the Federal Aviation Administration for MCAS. They mentioned that the issues were compounded by maintenance issues and lapses by Lion Air's repair crews and its pilots, as well as Extra Aerospace, a US-based company that supplied Lion Air with the angle of attack sensor on MCAS. The second crash involved Ethiopian Airlines flight ET302 on March 10, 2019, which crashed just 6 minutes after takeoff from Addis Ababa. ET302 was a routine scheduled flight bound for Nairobi, which crashed in the Tulufara village near Bishoftu. All 149 passengers and 8 crew on board died as a result of this crash, which was the deadliest aircraft in the history of the country, and was also the second crash involving a MAX 8 in less than 5 months. Like with the crash involving Lion Air flight JT610, a flight control issue was identified, and as a result activated the MCAS system. The aircraft pitched itself into a nose-down position and impacted the ground, with the pilots unable to override the system. By March 11th, the FAA commented that the Boeing 737 MAX 8 was airworthy. However, due to concerns regarding MCAS and the design features of the aircraft, they ordered Boeing to make design changes, which were to be implemented by April of that year. These changes included updated training requirements and flight crew manuals, as well as a system update to MCAS. Following the Ethiopian Airlines crash, China and most other civil aviation authorities grounded the aircraft over safety concerns. Despite the groundings of the 737 MAX, Boeing continued to build the aircraft, aiming for a software fix on the MCAS system that will satisfy regulators. However, the manufacturer had to revise the timeline for this more than once. All of this whilst their stock value continued plummeting. At this point, Boeing maintained that they were not aware of the safety issue prior to the crashes, although reporters eventually exposed the fact that they had concealed details of MCAS from its own test pilots during development, and the company eventually releases internal messages from Mark Faulkner, a top technical pilot working on the MAX, about the system's erratic behaviour back in 2016. It had emerged that earlier that year, Faulkner had secured permission from the FAA to remove any mention of the MCAS from the MAX's pilot manual, but neither he nor the company had revealed to the agency that they were overhauling the system. In one of the messages written by Faulkner, he said, "I basically lied to the regulators unknowingly." However, he then did specify how he misled them. On top of this, an international safety panel blamed both Boeing and the FAA for failures in the certification process of the 737 MAX. By October 2019, the board of directors at Boeing took the decision to remove CEO Dennis Muilenburg as chairman while allowing him to remain as chief executive. The motive behind this was that it would allow him to focus on the problems with the 737 MAX. Later that month, Muilenburg is placed in the spotlight as he had to testify before a congressional committee where he's grilled by Democrats and Republicans who basically said that Boeing's aircraft are akin to flying coffins and that there has been a pattern of deliberate concealment when it came to the MCAS systems. Muilenburg did admit during the congressional hearings that he would have made a different decision about Boeing's course after the Lion Air accident had he known more about the issue. Things got worse by December of that year via a Wall Street Journal report that a 2018 FAA review following the Lion Air crash determined a high risk of future 737 MAX accidents, but not grounding them at the time, and whistleblowers testifying to Congress that Boeing's high-pressure, unstable production environment is likely to cause mistakes. One former employee, Ed Pearson, says he formally warned leadership about cutting corners on multiple occasions only to be ignored. Boeing decides to suspend production of the 737 MAX by January 2020, and Muilenburg is ousted as the CEO, replaced by Chairman David Calhoun. Between January 2020 and May 2020, the 737 MAX production ground to a halt, with Boeing working hard to allow resumption of production, because after all, they had hundreds if not thousands of aircraft to deliver. Production resumed in May 2020, which gave Boeing some leeway in the ability to continue making money. However, by September 2020, the 18-month investigation by the US House Transportation Committee came to an end, with their findings damning. It described how the company could have prevented the Lion Air and Ethiopian Airlines crashes, also noting that the FAA had ceded too much oversight to Boeing itself in the certification process. The report cites the company's rushed production and cost-cutting measures as contributing to safety failures. On an additional note, in that same month, deliveries of Boeing's 787 Dreamliners began to slow down due to quality concerns on that particular family of aircraft too. By November 2020, after much criticism, the 737 MAX 8 was allowed back into commercial service by the FAA, at least allowing the aircraft to operate within the United States. Just when you thought that 2020 would be the end of it, the years of 2021 to 2023 did still have a theme of uncertainty. By 2021, the 737 MAX was already considered one of the most expensive debacles in corporate history, with Boeing already handing out more than $20 billion in customer compensation, victim compensation, jet storage, added production expenses, software updates, loan interests, and lawsuit settlements. In January, Boeing agreed to pay another $2.5 billion to defer prosecution for 3 years on a criminal charge of conspiracy to defraud the United States by circumventing proper federal oversight of its aircraft design, with $500 million going to the families of the 346 victims of the Lion Air and Ethiopian Airlines crashes. By September 2021, they then agreed to pay the SEC a $200 million fine for misleading the public. By October 2021, Mark Faulkner, who we mentioned earlier, becomes the first individual to be criminally charged in connection to the 737 MAX crisis. The Justice Department alleged that he had deceived the FAA in an effort to defraud Boeing's US-based airline customers to obtain tens of millions of dollars for Boeing. However, by March 2022, he is acquitted in a Texas court by the jury. Over the course of 2 years, aviation regulators around the world started to allow the return of the 737 MAX to commercial service. That, alongside the production rates ramping up, allowed Boeing to deliver more airplanes, secure more orders, and try to begin the process of stemming losses sustained by the crisis. Entering into 2024, there was a firm belief that this was Boeing's year. This firm belief lasted just 5 days into the new year. On January 5th, 2024, Alaska Airlines flight AS1282, originally bound to Ontario, California, suffered an uncontrolled decompression due to an incorrectly installed door plug. This event marked the start of the spread of the MAX crisis from the MAX 8 into the MAX 9 variant. November 704 Alpha Lima was the specific aircraft involved in this incident, which was only delivered to the airline in October 2023 at that time, as per data from planespotters.net. The outcome was more positive for those on board Alaska Airlines flight AS1282 compared to on Lion Air flight JT610 and Ethiopian Airlines flight ET302. All 171 passengers and 6 crew members survived the incident, with 3 receiving minor injuries. Hours after the accident where the door plug flew off, Alaska Airlines grounded their fleet of 737 MAX 9 aircraft. Not long after that, airlines such as United Airlines, Copa Airlines, Turkish Airlines and Lion Air were advised to temporarily ground their MAX 9s pending inspections of their door plugs on the aircraft. By January 24th, the FAA approved a new inspection process and cleared all 737 MAX 9 aircraft with door plugs to return to service when the inspection is completed successfully for each plane. It had emerged that the door plug had come from a company called Spirit AeroSystems, a company that used to be owned by Boeing in the past. The blame was initially placed onto that company for not spotting the issue at the time. However, it was later revealed that Boeing was at fault for not checking it during the quality assurance stage. CEO Dave Calhoun described it as a quality control issue on January 10th. On the same day, the FAA notified Boeing that it was under investigation for alleged non-compliance with regulations relating to new aircraft inspection and testing. By January 15th, the then CEO of Boeing Commercial Airplanes, Stan Deal, announced that immediate steps were to be taken to bolster quality assurance and controls in 737 production. This included the following things: planning more quality inspections, more team sessions on quality, review of the work conducted by Spirit AeroSystems, airline oversight inspections, and independent assessments by outside parties on Boeing's quality management systems. By February 6th, the NTSB released their preliminary report on the accident, which said that the damage patterns on the door plug indicated that the 4 bolts intended to secure the door plug had been missing when the accident occurred. They also reviewed Boeing records that showed evidence that the plug had been installed with no bolts. As the NTSB was continuing their full investigation, Boeing got themselves into hot water even more. On June 25th, during a meeting with journalists about the investigation, they revealed privileged information along with analysis of the facts. As a result, the NTSB took the decision to stop sharing information with the company. By April 2024, Boeing had to pay Alaska Airlines around $160 million in compensation, with Boeing paying a total of $443 million in compensation across all operators of the 737 MAX 9 aircraft. To bring 737 fuselage construction back in-house, Boeing announced on June 30th that they would buy back Spirit AeroSystems for $4.7 billion, with this deal expected to close in the middle of 2025. By August 2024, the NTSB commenced hearings on the Alaska Airlines incident, as well as the decision-making from high-level executives at Boeing. The first day of the hearings painted a disturbing picture of the manufacturer's company culture of pressure and prioritising speed over safety. Boeing, the manufacturer of the affected aircraft, faced scathing criticism through the first day of the hearing. Witnesses described a high-pressure environment where workers were pushed to the brink. A repeated theme of the first day's hearing session was the observed lack of safety and accountability. This was evident throughout the production processes in question, according to witness testimonies. The hearing forcefully highlighted the immense pressure placed on factory workers. Testimony revealed that management assigned employees tasks that they were unqualified to perform. This notably included the critical operation of opening and closing the door plug. Spirit AeroSystems originally manufactured the door plug assembly. Boeing factory workers later removed the door plug to repair damaged rivets. Furthermore, during that removal and subsequent refitting process, the bolts which helped secure the door plug in place were not reattached. This specific task was later found to be the root cause of the in-flight decompression. It highlights a systemic failure within Boeing's manufacturing process. Also, both the NTSB and Boeing have said that officials are yet to determine exactly who removed and reinstalled the door plug during the production process. The door plug incident itself was a terrifying ordeal for passengers and crew. Witnesses described the decompression event as violent. The force of the escaping air powerful enough to blow open the aircraft's cockpit door. It was also strong enough to rip the co-pilot's headset from their head. Moreover, this harrowing account underscores the potential risks associated with such failures and the possibility of catastrophic consequences. Beyond the immediate incident, the hearing exposed a deeper issue with Boeing's safety culture. Witnesses characterised the company's approach to safety as garbage, indicating a pervasive disregard for employee and passenger well-being. One Boeing worker involved in door installations said he was not directly told to take shortcuts, but there was significant pressure to keep the production line rolling. Furthermore, the lack of accountability within the organisation allowed dangerous practices to persist, creating a recipe for disaster. The Alaska Airlines door plug incident serves as a broader reminder of the importance of prioritising safety in all aspects of aviation. The hearing's revelations have raised serious concerns about Boeing's practices and have ignited calls for significant changes within the company. After the hearings concluded, Boeing appointed their new CEO, Kelly Ortberg. Just days into his new job, he laid out his vision for steering the company through turbulent times and reclaiming its position as an industry leader. Ortberg acknowledged the elephant in the room right from the start. Boeing has a significant trust deficit to overcome. Recent safety issues, particularly with the 737 MAX, have severely damaged the company's reputation. The new CEO emphasised that rebuilding trust is paramount and will be achieved through consistent delivery on commitments across all sectors of the business. The new CEO outlined the key areas of focus in a clear message: ensuring the safety and quality of commercial aircraft, meeting deadlines for defence and space products, providing reliable service for existing products. Ortberg stresses the importance of internal collaboration and mutual accountability among Boeing employees. This focus on teamwork suggests a move away from siloed operations that may have contributed to past issues. A notable shift in leadership strategy is Ortberg's decision to base himself in Seattle, closer to the commercial airplane programs. This move signals a more hands-on approach to management and a desire to understand ground-level challenges intimately. The new CEO's plan to visit factory floors and engage directly with employees shows a proactivity in identifying and addressing production issues. Leading from the top, Ortberg outlines the need for reviewing and improving safety and quality protocols and fostering open communication across all levels of the organisation. This approach may help bridge the gap between executive decision-making and the realities of day-to-day operations, potentially preventing future disconnects that could lead to safety oversights. Despite Boeing's recent struggles, Ortberg reports that customers and industry partners universally express support for the company's success. This backing provides a crucial foundation for Boeing's recovery efforts and suggests that the aerospace industry recognises the importance of a strong, competitive Boeing in the market. Ortberg also commits to regular, transparent communication with employees. This promise of frequent updates through various channels signals a desired shift towards a more open corporate culture. Increased transparency could help rebuild internal trust and alignment, which is essential for executing the company's turnaround strategy effectively. It was also at this time when Boeing got brought back into the public spotlight via the US Justice Department's recently agreed plea deal. The deal faced fierce opposition from the families of victims who lost their lives in the two fatal 737 MAX crashes. The department has maintained that the agreement represents the maximum possible punishment in the light of the available evidence. Under the recent civil trial agreement, Boeing agreed to plead guilty to one felony charge of conspiracy to commit wire fraud for misleading regulators about the safety of the 737 MAX aircraft. Under the terms of the agreed deal, the US plane manufacturer will be liable to pay a fine of at least $243.6 million. The agreement terms included the undertaking to invest $455 million in compliance and safety programs and serve 3 years of probation. However, relatives of the 346 victims have vehemently criticised the settlement. They argue that it is far too lenient given the scale of the tragedy. They have called for a more substantial financial penalty. In addition, they called for the appointment of an independent monitor to oversee Boeing's safety procedures. In response to the criticism, the Justice Department has asserted that it lacks sufficient evidence to prosecute Boeing for more serious crimes. Prosecutors have warned that rejecting the plea deal could result in a trial where no evidence about the causes of the crashes would be presented and no Boeing individuals would face charges. In the same month, a former Boeing employee turned whistleblower released documents through the Foundation for Aviation Safety that suggested an electrical malfunction may have potentially contributed to the Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 crash. These documents outline a series of electrical issues that were discovered during the assembly of the aircraft. This had notably resulted in uncommanded rolls and other potentially dangerous flight behaviours. In a covering email to the NTSB chair Jennifer Hemendi, former Boeing staffer Ed Pearson addressed the information supplied. He stated that the document should have been shared with the NTSB by Boeing and the FAA over 5 years ago. Aircraft records were supplied by Pearson relating to the 737 MAX 8 aircraft with tail number Echo Tango Alpha Victor Juliet. This is the Ethiopian Airlines aircraft which conducted the fatal flight ET302 on March 10, 2019. The report describes an in-flight incident on December 7, 2018. This saw the aircraft carry out an uncommanded roll to the right at 1,000 feet AGL. The aircraft was on autopilot and conducting an approach to Addis Ababa when the incident occurred. The report goes on to show that Boeing had reviewed the incident report and had suspected an intermittent electrical fault. While the official investigations into the crash have primarily focused on the MCAS software system, whistleblower Ed Pearson's allegations now raise a set of new questions about the safety of the aircraft. It has called into question the potential role of other manufacturing defects in the 737 MAX tragedy. Pearson's revelations come at a time when both the US plane manufacturer and the Boeing 737 MAX program have faced increased regulatory scrutiny. The MCAS system has undergone significant modifications to prevent future accidents. However, the whistleblower's claims potentially suggest that there may be additional safety concerns that need to be addressed. The documents released by Pearson further serve to highlight the importance of thorough testing and quality control in the manufacturing process. If the allegations are proven to be true, it could lead to a deeper investigation into the root cause of the 737 MAX crashes. It raises fresh questions about the adequacy of Boeing's safety culture and procedures. The whistleblower's allegations have sparked intense debate among aviation experts and the public. Some now question whether the electrical issues raised by Pearson may perhaps have played a contributing role leading to the Ethiopian Airlines crash. The release of Pearson's documents also reignites concerns about the transparency of Boeing's investigations and the company's commitment to safety. Boeing has maintained that the 737 MAX is now safe to fly. However, the whistleblower's allegations question whether there still may be underlying issues that the company has not fully addressed. September 2024 came along and a new issue had to be dealt with: the machinist strike. Boeing announced plans to furlough workers in the coming weeks to conserve cash during the ongoing labour disputes. This decision was made as part of a broader cost-cutting strategy to mitigate the financial impact of the strikes. The broad spread of cost-cutting measures by the US plane manufacturing giant comes on the heels of the decision by Pacific Northwest employees to take strike action. At that time, in a memo to Boeing employees, Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer Brian West laid out the sweeping initiatives. "We must take necessary actions to preserve cash and safeguard our shared future," West said in the message. "Importantly, we will protect all funding for safety, quality and direct customer support work." The range of proposed actions start from the top down. The proposed measures call for a hiring freeze across Boeing for all levels. Furthermore, it will see a pause of pay increases for executive and management promotions. Also, this will see a cut in non-critical business travel as well as withdrawal from air shows and trade events. Moreover, the cutback action includes a stop on the issue with the majority of supplier purchase orders on the 737, 767 and 777 programs. According to the Seattle Times, several sources have reported that Boeing has laid off dozens of engineering contractors. Furthermore, Boeing hired these workers for the 777X and 737 MAX programs, which have largely remained unaffected by the IAM strike action. West warned in his memo to staff of these proposed layoffs. Furthermore, he said that the difficult step of temporary furloughs for many employees, managers and executives would be enacted in the coming weeks. Boeing plans to furlough employees in various departments, including manufacturing, engineering, and support functions. The manufacturer stated that the decision was made to ensure its long-term financial stability and competitiveness. At this stage, the exact number of employees affected had not been disclosed. However, the furloughs are likely to have a significant impact on the livelihoods of Boeing workers and their families. To add further insult to injury, the NTSB then issued an urgent safety alert after an incident involving the rudder of a United Airlines Boeing 737 MAX earlier this year. The NTSB's recommendation action stems from an incident that occurred on February 6, 2024. A United Airlines Boeing 737 MAX 8 was carrying 155 passengers and 6 crew members. It experienced a directional control problem during its landing at Newark Liberty International Airport. As the aircraft touched down, the flight crew discovered that the rudder pedals had become unresponsive, essentially stuck in their neutral position. The pilot flying managed to maintain directional control of the aircraft using the nose-wheel steering tiller. As a result of this action, there was no damage to the airplane or injuries to the 155 passengers and 6 crew members. As part of the subsequent investigation, the NTSB conducted tests on the Aircraft Rollout Guidance Actuator, a critical component of the rudder control system. The results found that when exposed to cold conditions, both the incident actuator and a similar unit from another plane exhibited significant functional problems. Investigators uncovered the presence of moisture within the failed actuators. This discovery led Collins Aerospace finding that a production error had resulted in incorrectly assembled sealed bearings. This manufacturing flaw left the components vulnerable to moisture intrusion and potential freezing, which could severely restrict rudder movement under certain conditions. The implications of this issue are far-reaching. Collins has informed Boeing that over 350 affected actuators have been delivered since February 2017. This potentially impacts a substantial number of both 737 Next Generation and 737 MAX models currently in service worldwide. This revelation has raised serious questions about the safety of these widely used aircraft and the effectiveness of current quality control measures in the aerospace supply chain. In response to these findings, the NTSB has issued a series of crucial recommendations. Boeing is urged to develop alternative strategies for pilots facing rudder problems, moving away from the potentially dangerous maximum force approach. The aircraft manufacturer must alert all flight crews about the potential for rudder system jamming due to frozen moisture in the affected actuators. The FAA is called upon to evaluate whether affected actuators should be immediately removed from all aircraft in service. If removal is deemed necessary, the FAA should direct US operators to replace these components as soon as possible. The NTSB also recommends that the FAA notify international aviation regulators about this critical issue and encourage similar actions globally to ensure worldwide air travel safety. However, the FAA weren't too enthusiastic to advertise this problem. The NTSB revealed that more than 20 international airlines were potentially operating 737NG or 737 MAX aircraft with one of the problematic rudder actuators. In its communication to the FAA, the NTSB was scathing in its criticism of the US Aviation Agency. NTSB Chair Jennifer Hemendi directed comments in a letter to the FAA Administrator Mike Whitaker. Hemendi said that the FAA had not taken the issue as seriously as it should have, despite the potential risks involved. The NTSB emphasised that its investigation had uncovered evidence of the problem's severity and the need for urgent corrective measures. The NTSB's involvement was instrumental in prompting the FAA to issue the safety alert and to take steps to address the issue. Even as we was producing this documentary, the news kept on coming in this regard. On October 12, 2024, Boeing revealed plans to cut its workforce by 10% and delay the delivery of its highly anticipated wide-body 777X aircraft. These cutbacks to the workforce come as the company grapples with ongoing labour disputes and financial pressures. However, as for the 777X, this was expected due to problems experienced over the course of this year during testing and isn't related to the cost-cutting procedures at all. This will include upper-level staff, with the manufacturer saying it will include executives and managers as well as employees. The news follows this week's failure of mediated negotiations to resolve strike action by thousands of US West Coast workers. A third round of mediated talks between Boeing and the IAM Machinists Union failed to reach a compromise. In a message to employees at the beginning of the week, the CEO of Commercial Airplanes, Stephanie Pope, said that Boeing would consider its next steps to preserve cash flow. Boeing President and CEO Kelly Ortberg revealed the developments in a message to all employees on Friday, the 11th of October. Notably, Ortberg's message announced a significant pushback in the delivery of its 777X aircraft. The company now expects the first delivery to take place in 2026. The timeline has been set back due to development challenges, a flight test pause, and the ongoing work stoppage. This delay is a blow to Boeing's plans to compete in the wide-body aircraft market and could now potentially impact customer relations and future orders. The decision to reduce Boeing's total workforce by approximately 10% over the coming months is a clear indication of the company's dire situation. This cut will affect employees across all levels, including executives and managers, and will mean the loss of around 17,000 jobs. The move aims to align the workforce with Boeing's current financial reality and streamline operations to focus on core priorities. Ortberg emphasized the difficulty of this decision in a message to employees, stating, "Our business is in a difficult position and it is hard to overstate the challenges we face together." He added that structural changes are necessary to ensure the company's long-term competitiveness and ability to deliver for customers. The announcement comes on the heels of failed mediation attempts between Boeing and the IAM Machinists Union. A third round of talks failed to reach a compromise, leaving thousands of machinists on strike. This ongoing labour dispute has undoubtedly contributed to the company's decision to reduce its workforce and delay program deliveries. As Boeing navigates through these turbulent times, the company faces the dual challenge of maintaining focus on safety and quality while also implementing significant structural changes. The road ahead will not be easy, but Boeing leadership maintains these steps are necessary to ensure the company's long-term survival and success. Ortberg concluded his message to employees with a note of cautious optimism. "We will navigate through this moment, we will refocus our company, and we will restore trust with all those who depend on us." Stakeholders, including employees, customers, and investors, will be watching closely to see if these measures can help the company overcome its current challenges and emerge stronger on the other side. The coming months will be crucial for Boeing as it works to regain its footing in the competitive aerospace industry. The fallout from the 777X program delays remains to be seen. It comes as another thorn in the side of a manufacturer already reeling from production delays and ongoing supply chain issues. Through all of this, it is clear that the two Boeing 737 MAX crashes were the catalyst for the exposure of the overall problems ongoing at Boeing. Despite previous leadership changes, things remain more or less the same in terms of these cultural issues. An important question to ask within this is, will the appointment of Kelly Ortberg be the solution for Boeing? With a plethora of issues to sort, from getting everything with the MAX back to normal, to dealing with the machinist strikes and much more, it is clear that the current behaviours are not working, irrespective of who is CEO. It is clear that a shift in culture and behaviour is needed in order to restore Boeing to top form against its main competitor Airbus. Such a shift is needed as quickly as possible because otherwise this will continue to be a revolving door of controversy that has been caused by this stubborn culture at Boeing. One thing is for sure, if things continue like this, Boeing will be on their way out, and that is not a good thing for the aviation industry. Thank you for watching the first edition of the AvSource Doc. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to like, comment and subscribe for more of this on the AviationSource YouTube channel. For now, we will see you in the next video.